Chapter 1. The Battle. Gelivana's bare feet landed upon soft moss. She cradled an injured fox and carefully set it down in a safe nook. The helpless creature's soft fur brushed against her skin as it nestled itself against a thick tree deep in the heart of the moon forest. This was the 7th animal to seek shelter this morning. Something is wrong, she thought, and there were still so many panicked calls throughout the forest to attend to. With a twirl of her staff, spirit embers danced out of the trees to tend to the fox's wounds. Like lights of multicolored fireflies, moving with purpose, they hovered above the fox's injury and radiated a warm, healing glow. She didn't have time to watch the creature's wounds mend. She spun around to find her moon elk with its great antlers glowing with moonlight, patiently awaiting the next task. With a swift leap, Gelivana's cloak whooshed against the wind as she swung herself atop the majestic creature. With a unified determination, they galloped relentlessly through the forest. Beyond the edge of the forest, through the twisting trees, an explosive noise raised the hairs on her cat-like ears. The source of all these injuries. It must be. Gelivana steered towards the sound. Her eyes glowed a fierce hue of blue starlight. The trees swayed and groaned around her. The birds retreated to their nests. The forest was afraid of something. When Gelivana reached the edge of the forest, she gazed outward. In all her hundreds of years of watching over the forest, she had never seen a sight as harrowing as this. 2 armies were clashing in a momentous peak of battle in an open, dusty field next to the human village that had recently sprung up outside of the forest. Radiant holy fire launched across the sky, crossing against swirling blasts of iridescent teal and orange, sending fighters sailing through the air from both armies. Dark plumes of smoke billowed skyward from the scorched earth, casting grim shadows over the field, extending towards the forest. Armored horses fled in terror. Their masters' hopes of returning home were crushed and pierced by hammer and sword. So much death, Gelivana thought to herself, and there was little time to protect what mattered most, life. But where to start? And what life could be saved without drawing too much attention to herself or the forest? A flicker of movement at the fringes of the battlefield caught her eye. A lone horse, desperate to find its master, cowered on the outskirts of the battle. She lowered her head to her moon elk, Telanore, commanding it to press forward. She neared the blood-stained horse and dismounted, directing an enchanting tone towards it. Teele, she said. The horse turned trusting eyes towards the twilight depths of the moon forest. With a grateful neigh, it followed Gelivana's instructions and scampered towards the everlasting embrace of the ancient trees behind her. One life was saved, but more could be done. Another beckoning sound pulled Gelivana's attention. It was a child crying in anguish. Gelivana whipped around on her elk to find a mother sprinting with a small boy in her arms towards her. Gelivana surged to meet them. The mother looked at Gelivana's features with hesitant relief. Teal skin, eyes of pure blue starlight, animal ears, patches of fur, and 2 long flowing braids of white hair. The boy looked up at Gelivana and the magnificent moon elk, and his crying turned to silent awe. The mother, in a ragged whisper, broke the tense silence. It's you. You are... Many in the land knew of a spirit who oversaw the moon forest. Gelivana, her piercing eyes unwavering, replied, I am. The mother took a moment to stare into the innocent eyes of her child and then clutched her chest with a heavy grief. I have to, she rasped. She turned to Gelivana and with a mournful determination said, I can no longer protect him. Please. Her words hit a wall of tears, but she managed to struggle through. Can you keep him safe? Gelivana's heart ached for the woman and her child. I can, but can you not come with us? The mother's eyes continued to swell as she shook her head. She managed to get a few more words out and said, I am pledged. A flicker of fear ran across her face as she looked up at the sky. "They are watching me." "Very well." Gelavana extended a hand towards the child. His mother, knowing her son would not be able to tear himself away willingly, scooped him up and gently placed him onto the back of the moon elk. Gelavana gave an assuring nod to the woman before retreating back into the forest with the child. Gelavana could feel the tremor of stifled sobs against her back. The boy did well to cling tight. His tears eventually slowed as the sights of the forest helped to put his mind at ease. Floating ember spirits were jostled by the elk's speed as they wove between the great, tall trees. Plants and flora were glowing with starlight. The sounds of creaking wise trees and echoes of rushing water sounded in and out of earshot. The moon elk's antlers, majestic and luminous, cast a silvery path ahead. The pair reached Gelavana's hidden sanctuary in the heart of the moon forest, and she ushered the boy to rest in her shelter. "Stay," she instructed, her voice soft yet firm. Before he could voice an ounce of his worries, she was back on her elk, disappearing into the trees. The boy looked around at his new, strange surroundings. Elegant vines wove around a protective dome of sturdy branches, which led deeper into a cozy den within an old, hollowed-out tree. Inside, a bed of quilted reeds and moss sat nestled beside the soothing sounds of a nearby stream. The boy went inside and collapsed on the bed. The reeds felt itchy, the moss felt sticky, the forest felt lonely. Thoughts of mother were inescapable, and there was nowhere to escape to. He curled up into a ball and began to cry for mother. The forest quietly listened. A few moments later, the boy heard a great winged animal swish into a nearby tree. The boy froze in place. After a few seconds, he slowly shifted and squirmed to see if he could steal a glimpse without attracting any attention. The boy fell back startled to find the creature now perched on a low branch directly above him. Feathers of white, crimson, and teal painted the creature over the twilight background of the forest, leading all the way up to a crown of feathers, blending all three colors and pointing towards the sky. A black beak gleamed like polished onyx, but it was the eyes that truly startled him. Piercing orbs of blue starlight mirroring Gelavana's eyes with an uncanny precision. The great owl swiveled its head for a moment in a scrutinizing fashion before speaking in a shrill voice. "Goralamus." The boy, still frozen in time, shocked by the look and great size of the creature, eventually replied, "Goralamu?" The owl said, "Goralamus. Moose. Try it again." The boy stuttered for a moment. He then found his ground and said, "Goralamus. That's better. And your name?" The boy shyly said, "Beliath." The owl replied, "Well, wonderful to meet you, Beliath. I know this all must seem very strange and perhaps a bit scary, but I do assure you that you are safe here. Gelavana will return soon as she's done tending to the injured." The boy looked up, confused by the owl's words. The owl explained, "There are other creatures suffering out there, just like yourself, but don't fret, for the forest always returns." Goralamus examined the boy more closely for a moment and noticed something powerful lying dormant within his aura. You're no ordinary creature, are you?" Before Beliath could answer the owl's mysterious question, Gelavana returned as promised. "Thank you, Goralamus," she uttered. The owl bowed its head. Gelavana kneeled down next to the child and opened her hand to reveal berries filled with glowing starlight. The boy carefully picked one of the berries and put it in his mouth, sending a wave of tranquility through his body. Light emanated through his teeth as he chomped. Goralamus whispered to Gelavana, "His name is Beliath. He appears to be more than just an ordinary human." Gelavana ignored the owl and summoned birds from nearby trees that carried more berries for Beliath. She began preparing a separate sleeping area for herself. After some consideration, Gelavana replied to Goralamus in a loud tone, Like everything in True Earth, he is one of Gaia's creations. Gelivana sat next to Beliath and said, Beliath, tell me, why are the humans fighting out there? Beliath sat there, unsure what answer he could possibly give. They don't want me to... The boy looked at the ground in silence. Want you to what, child? The boy was frozen again. Goralamu said, Enough, Gelivana. The poor boy was just ripped from his mother by the never-ending cruelty of humans. Let him rest. We can try asking the question again in the morning. But that question never came.